What's up, guys? So today we're going to talk about anaerobic testing in conjunction with our warm-up that we just recently went over. So what the heck are we doing here? Basically, anaerobic testing, where we're talking about what components of fitness we are testing, how and when we should test them, and different results or measures of that specific testing. So before we get started, we have a story of a day. This is about a wrestler that grew up in New Jersey, went on to win many world championships and medals. The one championship he never did win was a high school championship, and the point being, never let your past determine your future. So that's a big Dale Carnegie concept. He always says that you must affirm in yourself and in other people what you believe their true potential to be, because every individual is much more than their worst mistake. So that goes both introspectively and on the outside as well. You can't simply put, you can't let your past determine your future. And this concept has been disguised as many other sayings, such as fake it till you make it, or dress for the job that you want, not the one that you have, etc. Basically, act like a champion and you'll get treated like a champion, treat others like a champion and you will be a champion, etc. So why do we test? We test to find a baseline. So if a new client comes to you, you got to figure out where they are. You need to develop goals. So if they tested at X strength and they want Y strength, then you can help build a program. Building a program, evaluating progress, also testing the program's efficiency. So put simply, it's to develop training goals, build a program, and track progress. The timing that we want to typically test is going to be pre, mid, and post. You don't want to just do your pre-test because then you wouldn't know the outcome of the program. You don't want to just do your post-test because you don't know how effective the program was or how well the person reacted to the program, because remember, the principle of individuality is very relevant. And you don't want to just do pre and post because you may be so far away from the goals at the halfway point that you could adjust for that during the program instead of just waiting. So pre, mid, and post set simply. Based on the post, you set new goals and you repeat unless they're going into a season as an athlete, and then you'll see them again in the off season. All right. So our first test is muscular strength. The definition of muscular strength is the ability to move a maximal weight one time. Maximal weight, one time. Max strength. These definitions are important to remember because it's the baseline of understanding. It's memorization, and then from there we can develop concepts. 1 repetition max is shorthand, written as 1 RM. You can estimate your 1 rep max by your 10 rep max by simply multiplying it by 75%. The main compound lifts measured typically are squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, and weighted pull-up. I've actually attached a chart directly out of the NSCA's textbook, the Essentials of Strength Conditioning. This chart goes a little bit more in depth to the estimation of your 1 rep max. So earlier we said your 10 rep max would be about 75% of your 1 rep max. So we can predict up and down the chart based off of the number that we hit or our percentage of 1 rep max. So if I did 100 pounds for 15 reps, we could estimate that we can multiply that by 1.35 and I'll get my 1 rep max. Now, the further you are away from 1, the more inaccurate this estimation is. And if you have an athlete who is trained specifically either as a strength athlete or an endurance athlete, then that will be reflected in their estimation as well. A CrossFit athlete will probably do better on the endurance aspect of the continuum or spectrum versus a strength athlete will do better at the 1 to 5 reps or more close to correct. The further you are away from their training comfort zone, the more inaccurate it's going to be. Muscular endurance is the ability to perform repeated submaximal movements. So we have maximal weight one time, multiple reps or multiple movements at submaximal weight is endurance. Maximal repetitions performed in a given period of time with proper form and no break in form or rhythm. Common tests are sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, and squats, typically all under 2 minutes because we are talking about the anaerobic energy system. This is something that the government uses quite frequently for their fitness tests. Whether, again, I was in the Army, we used 2 minutes of max sit-ups, 2 minutes of max push-ups, and then a 2-mile run as fast as you could, measuring your anaerobic endurance or your muscular endurance of different muscles. One thing I will say about other entities replicating this, paramilitary organizations replicating this, is typically they allow you to break during that 2 minutes, whereas in the military you don't. If you move your hand off the ground or do anything to not support the muscle, to take the strain off of the tested muscle group, then the test is terminated. For instance, put your knee down in a push-up or hold your legs in the sit-up and take a break. Any of that, anytime you take the weight off of the tested muscle, then it's just automatically termination. Whereas a lot of other entities, they let you shake it out or do whatever. But a true measure of muscular endurance would be to support the weight majority by the tested muscle the entire time. Muscular power. Power is typically a derivative of time. So if you think about any activity that requires power or any activity that may include power, then it's typically needs to be done at a fast rate. You could not jump high slowly. You could not throw hard slowly. So if you wanted to throw a football as far as you could, you wouldn't be able to do that movement slowly, or it wouldn't be as successful if you did it with speed. The scientific definition is going to be power divided by, power equals force times displacement divided by time, or simply work divided by time, because it is a derivative of time. Typically, these tests are vertical jumps, broad jumps, Olympic lifts, and sprinting. If we all think about the NFL Combine, of course, that is the vertical jump test, and it's always one of the really fun ones to watch because a lot of those guys can jump very high, and it is a great measure of power. Then we have anaerobic capacity. All of these definitions are, once again, very important because the first step in learning is memorization. So being able to memorize the definition and then later apply more complex concepts to it is the true measure of deeper learning. So anaerobic capacity is the maximal rate of energy production by the combined phosphagen and lactic acid energy systems for moderate duration activities. We can break that down and simplify it very much. Anaerobic capacity, well, we know anaerobic capacity means without oxygen, so we're dealing specifically with energy systems that do not require oxygen, and that is in shorter time periods, because we know that anaerobic or without oxygen energy systems happen in a lower or moderate duration. So very simply, we know it's alactic energy systems, so ATP, PCR, and phosphagen, and we know it is moderate duration because it's anaerobic. Simple. Our tests typically include 300-yard shuttle, wind gate test, time, distance, air bike rides, like 50 calories as fast as you can is a common one that we use in the facility that I work at, or a 3, 4, and 800-meter sprint, depending on how fast you are. If you're typically not a very good runner, 800-meter sprint might actually turn into a little bit more aerobic as opposed to anaerobic. Order of testing. So in order for the test to be valid, we need to make sure that they are applied in a specific way. So if we were to do a testing day and we tested all the components of fitness, which isn't ideal, but say we did, we would want them in such an order that would allow them to remain valid. And what I mean by that is if we all tested our aerobic capacity and then came back and tested our power or our strength right after that, then it wouldn't be a very good measure of true power or strength. We would typically probably do a little bit better had we not just tested our aerobic capacity. So they need to be done in a specific order if you're to do them all in one day. Flexibility and non-fatiguing tests, your body comp, things like that. Agility, power, strength, muscular endurance, anaerobic capacity, and then aerobic capacity. So if you were to look at different tests, that would be your flexibility test, your fat caliper test, your your 5-10-5 or T-drill test, your vertical jump or power clean, power snatch, your max bench, max deadlift, or max squat, or all of them. Muscular endurance would be bodyweight squats in under 2 minutes for reps, or push-ups under 2 minutes in reps, or the combine test. You have your 225 bench press for reps. Then your anaerobic capacity, which would be your 300-yard shuttle or your wind gate test, ending with a 1.5 mile or 2 mile run. That's just an example of different tests for that component done in order to allow a little bit of practical application. So this is directly out of the textbook: non-fatiguing test, height, weight, flexibility, skin fold, girth measurement, vertical jump test, agility test, max power, and strength, which would be a vertical jump test. I'm not sure why they placed that there. Sprints, tests, local muscular endurance, fatiguing anaerobic, aerobic capacity. All right, so don't worry about the homework. We have that laid out automatically in the quiz that'll happen later today. later on Thursday, and then again we'll tune in live on Thursday for our in-person Zoom chat to make sure that we are on the same page and understanding of the concept. So bring all your questions there. Be prepared to take the quiz, and have a great day.